Hello guys, once again welcome back to Commerce class. Today we are going to discuss about fourth chapter, that is short-term sources of finance. This is very small chapter. Here we will discuss about meaning of different types of short-term financial sources. First let us learn about what is short-term sources of finance. Short-term sources of finance is usually the funds which are used for less than 1 year for maturity. They are less stable sources of funds for business. The main purpose of short-term sources of finance is in order to fulfill working capital, like meeting day-to-day financial requirements, enables firms to hold stock of raw materials and finished products. Goods can be sold on credit, more essential when it is necessary to increase the volume of production at a short notice and required to allow flow of cash during the opening cycle. All these are comes under short-term working capital. Next, types of short-term sources of finance for business. As per syllabus, we have to discuss 6 types of short-term sources of finance. First one, commercial banks. Entrepreneur can borrow funds from commercial banks. So, commercial banks' main use of funds for lending to customers and investors. But commercial bank has to keep substantial funds in the form of cash and short-term investments as a liquid assets for business. Second, public deposits. The unsecured deposits invited by companies from the public mainly to finance working capital needs. And a company wishing to invite public deposits makes an advertisement in the newspapers so that it can be raised directly from the public. Not only that, this source has become very popular of late because companies offer higher interest than the interest offered by banks. And also a company accepts deposits from the public to finance its medium and short-term requirements of funds. Finally, the acceptance of public deposits is regulated by the RBI. Third, trade credit. All of you know about trade. Trade in the sense, process of buying and selling. So, trade credit talks about relationship between buyer and seller. That means suppliers are often unable to working with their best customers when they need to fund a large order to ramp up a new contract or bridge a short-term need for additional capital by extending payment terms. Not only that, if we have greater relationship with the suppliers or vendors, it's possible to negotiate payment terms to accumulate the seasonality of your business. Third, customer advances. Sometimes a business, in order to raise short-term finance, it takes advances from customers and agents against orders. And it is a cheap and best short-term sources of finance. And also, in order to minimize their investments in working capital, some firms having long production cycle, especially the firms manufacturing industrial products, prefer to take advances their customers. Fifth, factoring intercorporate deposits. Rising short-term finance is through account receivable credit offered by commercial banks and factors. Basically, factor means a factor is a financial institution which offers service related to management and financing of debt arising out of credit sales. And also, factors render service varying from bill discount facilities offered by commercial banks to a total takeover of administration of credit sales. Not only that, factoring may be on a recourse basis where the risk of bad debts is borne by the client, or non-recourse basis where the risk of credit is borne by the factor. Basically, factoring in India rendered by only a few financial institutions on recourse basis. Sixth, installment credit. Entrepreneur can raise short-term sources of funds, installment credit also. Assets are purchased and the possession of goods is taken immediately, but the payment is made in installment over a predetermined period of time. But interest is charged on the unpaid price, or it may be adjusted in the price. That's why it used as a sources of short-term working capital by many business houses which have difficult funds position. This is what about short-term sources of funds. Thank you.